At 33 past the hour, this breaking news out of Iran into our newsroom just a few minutes ago. We're getting some new video. We're not sure what the date of this video is, though it is from a website which we have accessed before. So this could be today. The crowds don't look quite as large as they had been in terms of those streets packed. And we've been told about earlier protests where you had demonstrators being clamped down upon by tear gas, water cannons. We have yet to see reports over AP or Reuters wire service about these fires breaking out in the streets. So whether or not this is today or very recently there on the streets of Tehran, we're not entirely certain. That said, it certainly is evidence of the type of protests that are underway and the types of reaction and clamping down by riot police, by the Iranian government on those who deem to defy the orders of that government and indeed get out there and protest the recent election results. So we're watching all of this very closely with many experts, to include from New York, Raghida Dergham. Raghida has joined us. She is a senior diplomatic correspondent for the London-based Al Hayat and Bureau and also MSNBC analyst. Good morning to you, Raghida.
And to you, Alex.
Okay, let's talk right now about the video that we're seeing. You see people in the streets. You see the fires. We know that we've seen on blog spaces lots and lots of riot police. Tell me what you think the thought process is of the regime right now.
My thought is that this regime must have lost its composure because it's acting from weakness and in a way in a panic. And therefore, change has happened in Tehran, and it's no longer the reformers versus the extremists within the regime. We have another element, which is a challenge to the regime itself. It's something to watch, to worry about on one hand, but it could also be an opportunity for something new in Iran.
Okay, is this Mousavi's bidding, or is this beyond what he could even have imagined?
Alex, it's beyond. It may have been his bidding in the beginning, but right now I think he's been driven by the events, by the street, by the youth. I don't know whether he would have wanted to go that far because he's actually part of the regime. He was part of the reformers of the current regime. What we see is potentially some groups or movement or uprising that is saying, I have had enough with the regime altogether. So Mousavi will have to decide whether he's going to stay working from within or whether he's going to lead that other movement that has overtaken him.
And Raghida, I keep wondering, who is it that's making up these protesters that we see? We know that there are reformers who are passionate and willing to risk all, but it seems like it's even more than that, that it's permeated all facets of society.
Indeed. I think in the beginning you would have had the catalyst being the elections, Mousavi, and the dignity of the Iranians at being dismissed, their vote is being dismissed. But I think right now it's the first time we are ever witnessing this. I was there 30 years ago, and it's nothing like it. It was the cassette, if you remember, the tape recorder cassette revolution, but now we're having the internet revolution. And it's very interesting that the organizing that goes on amongst the youth is having a shocking effect on the ruling regime in Tehran. And I think they're running behind the events simply because I think they simply just don't get it. They haven't been able to catch up with it.
Raghida, you've got to imagine that the regime does not want the focus of the world on what's happening in Iran. Can they do anything about that?
Well, yes, unfortunately, yes, they could. To change the subject, if you will, maybe they would want to have or provoke a particular confrontation with Israel, not necessarily with Iran directly, but say in Lebanon. They may provoke or have some agents of theirs to provoke a confrontation with Israel in Lebanon so that the issue will go back to Israel, of course, being the enemy, the United States the enemy, and that the Iranian regime is the champion of the revolution and the liberation of Palestine. And that would probably get them to rally against their own people inside and change the subject and justify, say, by martial law or some other ways, justify further crackdown. It is really a dangerous moment, but that's why it's very important for President Obama to go back to the drawing table and address a very important issue, which is change has happened in Iran. How do we put a policy to adjust to the change rather than how do we wait and look possibly as if like the president is waiting for the suppression of the revolution or the uprising before he changes policies. I think he's done right so far, but I think it's very important to now be prudent, not only cautious.
Okay, Raghida Dergham, always very valuable, your insights. We appreciate them very much.
I appreciate it.